She watched them auction her life away piece by piece. Her clothes, jewelry, memories. Her husband kissed his mistress. His mother celebrated. The buyers cheered. Then the convoy arrived. Soldiers stepped out, and the man in the general's uniform asked one question. "Where is my sister?" Everything stopped. Silence fell. It was a sunny Saturday afternoon in Atlanta, Georgia, the kind of day when neighbors sit on their porches and kids ride bikes down the street. But on this particular Saturday, ain't nobody riding bikes. Everybody on the block was standing on the sidewalk, phones out, recording what had to be the coldest thing they'd ever seen in their lives. Because right there in the driveway of a nice suburban home, a woman named Nadine was watching her entire life get sold off piece by piece like it meant nothing. And the worst part, the person doing the selling was her own husband. Marcus stood in the middle of that driveway with a microphone and a speaker system, like he was hosting some kind of game show. Tables were set up everywhere, covered with Nadine's clothes, her shoes, her jewelry, her kitchen stuff, even furniture from inside the house. Strangers were picking through her belongings, holding up dresses and asking how much, haggling over prices like this was just another weekend yard sale. But this wasn't no regular sale. This was an execution, a public humiliation designed to break her spirit completely. Marcus was loving every second of it too. He held up Nadine's wedding dress, the same dress she wore when she promised to love him forever, and laughed into that microphone. "Starting bid, $20. Come on, y'all, this thing cost me $3,000. People in the crowd gasped. Some laughed nervously, but Marcus kept going. "Dead weight, gotta go. I'm upgrading, baby." And then he did the unthinkable. He kissed his mistress right there in front of everybody, in front of his wife, in front of God and the whole neighborhood. Her name was Shantae, and she was everything Marcus thought he deserved. Designer clothes, long nails, perfect makeup, and a social media following that made her feel important. She strutted around that driveway in her heels and her tight dress, filming everything for Instagram and TikTok. "Out with the old, in with the new," she said to the camera with a smile. She tried on Nadine's jewelry right in front of her, holding it up to the light. "Ooh, this'll look better on me anyway." She posted story after story, hashtagging it all, turning someone's pain into content for likes and views. And if that wasn't bad enough, Marcus's mother Beverly was sitting at a cash table with a metal lockbox, counting every dollar that came in like it was Christmas morning. She wore sunglasses and sipped lemonade, looking satisfied in a way that made your stomach turn. When someone asked about Nadine, Beverly waved her hand dismissively. "Take it all, honey. She never deserved these nice things anyway." She laughed with Shantae, whispered jokes, counted bills with a smile that said she'd been waiting for this moment for years. Nadine stood at the edge of the driveway, arms at her sides, face blank. She didn't cry, didn't scream, didn't beg them to stop. She just stood there in silence, watching strangers walk away with pieces of her life. A woman bought her grandmother's Bible for $15. A man carried out her mother's china set for $25. Another person haggled over a framed photo of her father, talking him down from $10 to $5. Every item that sold was another piece of her heart being ripped out, but she didn't let them see it. She just watched with those empty eyes like her soul had already left her body. Some of the neighbors were disgusted. You could see it on their faces. One older man tried to speak up, tried to tell Marcus he was making a mistake. "Y'all might want to be careful," he said, low and serious. But Marcus cut him off real quick. "Mind your business, old man." The neighbor shook his head and backed away. But he kept watching, kept his phone recording, because something in his gut told him this wasn't gonna end well. Then Marcus climbed up on the hood of his car with that microphone, Shantae jumping up beside him like they'd just won the lottery. "Y'all want to know why we're doing this?" he shouted. "I'ma tell you. We're buying my queen right here a brand new Mercedes G-Wagon." The crowd gasped. Some cheered, some shook their heads in disbelief. Shantae squealed and threw her arms around him, kissing him again while people watched. Beverly stood up and clapped like her son had just graduated from Harvard. "My son deserves a real woman who appreciates him." Shantae pulled out her phone, showed the screen to the crowd. "It's already ordered, y'all. White with red interior." People were taking pictures, recording videos, the whole scene turning into a spectacle. And through it all, Nadine just stood there, silent, still, broken. At one point, Marcus held up a framed military photo, looking at it like it was trash. "Who even keeps this old army stuff?" he said with a laugh. Beverly didn't even look before she tossed it into a box marked free. "Trash," she said, "just like everything else she brought into this family." For just a second, Nadine's jaw tightened. Just a flicker of emotion so quick you might have missed it. But that was it. That was all she gave them. Then someone picked up a silver bracelet from one of the tables. It was delicate, had a military insignia on it, looked old but well kept. "How much for this?" the buyer asked. Beverly barely glanced at it. $5. The person handed over a $5 bill and walked away with it. Nadine's hand moved, just slightly, like she wanted to reach out and grab it, but then it fell back to her side. That bracelet was from her brother. He'd given it to her 20 years ago before he left for the military. She'd worn it every single day since she was 13 years old, until last week when Marcus ripped it off her wrist during an argument. And now it was gone, sold for $5 to a stranger who had no idea what it meant. As the sale wound down and people started leaving, Marcus yelled after Nadine one more time. "You got until Monday to be out of town completely. Fresh start for everyone." Shantae giggled. Beverly counted the final stack of bills, and the neighbors whispered amongst themselves. Nadine turned slowly and walked toward the house. Marcus's voice followed her. "Did you hear me? Monday. Don't make me call the cops." She didn't respond, just kept walking, one foot in front of the other, until she disappeared inside and closed the door behind her. But see, what Marcus didn't know, what none of them knew, was that Nadine wasn't always this quiet, this broken. There was a time when she was full of life, full of hope, full of love. To understand how she got here, you gotta go back. Way back to a small town in South Carolina called Pinewood, where a little girl grew up with her grandmother after losing everything. Nadine was only 7 years old when her parents died in a car accident. One day she had a mama and a daddy who loved her, and the next day she had nothing but questions and tears. Her grandmother, Mama Ruth, took her in without hesitation, raised her in a small wooden house with a wraparound porch, where the smell of cornbread and collard greens filled the air every Sunday. Mama Ruth taught her about faith, about strength, about grace under pressure. "Baby," she used to say, "a queen don't need to raise her voice to be heard. Silent strength is the most powerful weapon you got." Nadine had an older brother named Terrence, 5 years older, who became the man of the house when their parents passed. He worked odd jobs after school to help Mama Ruth pay the bills. He walked Nadine to school every morning, fought off her bullies, dried her tears when she missed their mama and daddy. He was her protector, her hero, the one person who made her feel safe in a world that had taken so much from her. When Terrence turned 18, he made a decision that changed everything. He joined the army, said he wanted to give Nadine and Mama Ruth a better life, wanted to make something of himself so they wouldn't have to struggle anymore. The night before he left, they sat on that wraparound porch under the stars. Nadine was 13, crying because she didn't want him to go. Terrence pulled out a silver bracelet, placed it in her hand. It had a military insignia on it, and engraved on the inside were the words, "Always protected." "I'm always with you, Dina," he said. using the nickname only he called her. No matter where I go, no matter how far, you call me, I come, you understand. She nodded through her tears, slipped that bracelet on her wrist, and never took it off. Not through middle school, not through high school, not through college, not even on her wedding day. It was her reminder that she wasn't alone, that somewhere in the world, her big brother was watching over her, and Terrence kept his promise. He sent money home every month. He called every week, no matter where he was deployed. Iraq, Afghanistan, places he couldn't even name because the missions were classified. He rose through the ranks fast, sergeant, lieutenant, captain, major. People who served under him said he was the best leader they'd ever had. Calm, under pressure, smart, strategic, but most of all, he cared about his people. He became a colonel, and then, at 41 years old, he made brigadier general, one of the youngest black generals in his division. Nadine went to college on scholarships and the money Terrence sent home. She studied to be an elementary school teacher because she loved kids, loved seeing them learn and grow. That's where she met Marcus. He was studying business, talked a big game about becoming successful, building an empire. He was charming at first, brought her flowers, took her on dates, told her he loved how sweet she was, how kind, how different from other women. She fell for him, fell hard. When Mama Ruth got sick with cancer a few years later, Terrence came home, held both of them through the grief, through the hospital visits, through the final goodbye. At Mama Ruth's funeral, the old woman's words echoed in Nadine's mind. There's a time to be silent, and there's a time to roar. Don't you ever let nobody make you forget who you are. Terrence walked Nadine down the aisle when she married Marcus. He pulled Marcus aside that day, looked him dead in the eye, and said, "You take care of my sister. That's not a request." Marcus smiled and promised he would. But Terrence saw something in his eyes that day, something he didn't trust. He couldn't put his finger on it, but he knew. Still, he let it go. His sister was happy. That's what mattered, but happiness don't always last. Marcus started changing after the wedding. Came home late, smelled like perfume, made excuses that didn't add up. His mother, Beverly, never liked Nadine from the start. Called her too quiet, too simple, too country. Compared her to other women constantly. Marcus started listening to his mama, started seeing Nadine the way Beverly did, as less than, as not enough, as a burden instead of a blessing. The criticism came slow at first. Little comments about her clothes, her hair, her cooking. Then it got worse. He called her boring, said she wasn't exciting enough, wasn't ambitious enough. She tried to fix it, tried to be better, tried to save the marriage by being everything he wanted. But it was never enough, because the problem wasn't her. It was him. Nadine didn't tell Terrence about any of it. She was ashamed. She didn't want to burden him while he was overseas. Didn't want to admit that her marriage was falling apart. So she stayed silent, prayed harder, hoped love would fix what was broken. But love can't fix what don't want to be fixed. The betrayal deepened over 4 long weeks that felt like a lifetime. First, Marcus drained their joint bank account without telling her. Nadine found out at the grocery store when her card got declined. She checked her phone and saw $0 where there used to be $23,000. She rushed home to confront him, but he just shrugged. "My money," he said. "You don't contribute enough to have access." Beverly was sitting on the couch, nodding in agreement. About time he took control. The next week, Nadine came home from teaching to find her key didn't work. Marcus had changed the locks. All her belongings were in garbage bags on the porch. She banged on the door, begging to be let in, but Beverly answered instead of Marcus. "This ain't your house no more," she said with a cold smile. Nadine looked past her and saw Shantae inside, hanging up her own pictures, redecorating like she owned the place. Shantae waved mockingly. Love what you've done with the place. I'm gonna change everything, though. Marcus appeared behind his mother, arms crossed. You can stay if you apologize and know your place. Nadine couldn't believe what she was hearing. Apologize for what? Marcus's eyes were hard. For being a burden, for not being woman enough, for wasting my time. Beverly nodded. Apologize to Shantae, too. She's been patient. Nadine looked at the neighbors watching from their windows and porches. She felt their pity, their judgment. She picked up 2 garbage bags and walked to her car. That night she slept in a grocery store parking lot and cried until there were no tears left. Then Shantae started her social media campaign, posted videos and photos claiming Nadine was abusive, unstable, a cheater, said Marcus finally got free from a toxic relationship. Marcus shared every post, added his own lies. His friends believed it. They blocked Nadine. Her co-workers started treating her different. Even people at church looked at her sideways. Beverly told family members that Nadine drove her son into another woman's arms. The whispers spread like wildfire. By week 4, Nadine was a shell of herself. She'd lost weight, couldn't sleep, could barely function. Marcus called and told her to meet him at a lawyer's office to finalize the divorce. She showed up hoping for some kind of mercy. Instead, Marcus walked in with Beverly and Shantae like they were celebrating. The lawyer slid papers across the desk. He wants the house and you waive all claims. He's offering $3,000 as a buyout. The house was worth $200,000. Nadine knew it wasn't fair, but she was too tired to fight. She signed, walked out in a daze, and that's when Beverly called with the final blow. Come get your stuff by Saturday or we're throwing it out, Beverly said on the phone. When Nadine said she'd come, Beverly laughed. Actually, we changed our minds. We're having a yard sale, gonna use the money to buy Shantae her dream car. Nadine tried to say they couldn't do that, but Beverly cut her off. You abandoned it. It's trash now. Then Marcus got on the line. Be there if you want, or don't. Either way, it's happening. They hung up. Nadine sat in silence for a long time after that call. She felt something inside her break, like the last piece of her old self just shattered. The morning of the yard sale, she looked in the mirror and didn't recognize the woman staring back. Her co-worker begged her not to go, not to give them the satisfaction. But Nadine had to see it, had to witness what they were doing. So she drove to the house she used to call home and stood at the edge of that driveway, watching her life get sold off for pennies. And that's when it happened. That's when Nadine finally broke her silence. She walked into the house through the back door they'd forgotten to lock, went into the bathroom and pulled out her phone with shaking hands. She opened her messages to Terrence. They hadn't spoken in 3 months because she'd been too ashamed to tell him the truth. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard. She typed, deleted, typed again. Finally, she sent it. Brother, they sold Mama Ruth's Bible. They sold your bracelet. I'm sorry. I should have told you sooner. She hit send, then added, I'm at the end, Terrence. I have nothing left. Please. 30 seconds later, her phone buzzed. Terrence, address, now. She sent it. Another message came through immediately. Don't move. I'm coming. Then one more. And Nadine, they're going to wish they never touched you. Outside, the celebration continued. Marcus and Beverly counted their money. $15,000 total. Shantae filmed another TikTok about her new car coming Monday. Nobody noticed the older neighbor on his phone, talking urgently to someone. Nobody paid attention to the rumble of engines in the distance getting closer, and nobody saw it coming when everything changed. First came the sound. Deep, synchronized engine rumbles. Military grade. Conversation slowed, then stopped completely. Everyone turned toward the street. One black SUV appeared, then 2, then 3, 4, 5, all matte black with tinted windows. They parked in perfect formation, blocking the entire street. The engines cut off. Total silence fell over the neighborhood. Marcus stood up, confused. "The hell?" Beverly frowned. "Who are these people?" Shantae let out a nervous laugh. "Is this a prank or something?" But nobody answered, because the doors of those SUVs opened in perfect unison and soldiers stepped out. 12 of them. Full dress uniforms, decorated, official. They didn't rush, didn't shout, just stood at attention, forming two lines. The crowd was frozen. Marcus tried to sound tough. "Yo, what is this? Y'all lost?" The soldiers didn't respond. They just stood there, waiting. Then the back door of the middle SUV opened, and a man stepped out. Tall, broad-shouldered, moving with absolute authority. Brigadier General Terrence Walker. His uniform was immaculate. Dress uniform with medals across his chest and stars on his shoulders. His face was calm, but his eyes burned with controlled fury. He surveyed the scene slowly. The yard sale remnants, the champagne glasses, the money box. Then his eyes found Nadine standing near the house, and his jaw tightened. He walked forward, boots hitting the pavement with purpose. The soldiers parted for him. Every step was measured, controlled, terrifying in its calmness. Marcus tried to regain some confidence. "Who are you? This is private property." Terrence didn't even look at him, just kept walking until he was 10 feet away. Then he stopped, made direct eye contact with Marcus, and the air itself seemed to change. The temperature dropped. The world held its breath. Terrence's voice cut through the silence, quiet but sharp as a blade. "Where is my sister?" 4 words. That's all it took. Marcus's face went pale. His mouth opened, but no sound came out. Beverly's satisfied smile disappeared. Psst. Shantae took a step back. Neighbors gasped. Some covered their mouths with their hands. The older neighbor who'd tried to warn Marcus earlier whispered, "I tried to tell you." Marcus finally found his voice, pointing at Nadine with a shaking hand. She's right there." Terrence didn't look away from Marcus. "I didn't ask where she's standing. I asked where she is." He took a step closer. "Because the sister I know, she's strong. She's got a home. She's got respect. She's got dignity." He looked around at the scattered belongings, the tables, the money box. "But what I see here is a woman who's been stripped of everything." His eyes moved to Marcus. "By her own husband, then to Beverly, by his mother, finally to Shantae, and by a woman who don't even know what she stepped into." Marcus tried to recover, puffing out his chest. "Look, man, I don't know what she told you, but—" Terrence held up one hand. Silence fell instantly. "You sold her belongings." Marcus started to speak, but Terrence's voice got louder. "You sold her grandmother's Bible." Marcus went quiet. Terrence stepped even closer. "You sold a bracelet with military insignia." "My bracelet. The one I gave her when she was 13 years old." He looked at Beverly. "For $5. Beverly stammered. "We didn't know." Terrence cut her off. "You didn't ask." He walked over to the money box, picked it up, held it up for everyone to see. $15,000 to buy your mistress a car." He looked back at Marcus. "This what my sister's worth to you?" Marcus was sweating now. "It's not like that." Terrence's voice was ice. "Then tell me what it's like. Please, explain." One of the soldiers stepped forward with a tablet, handed it to Terrence. He swiped through it, his face getting harder with each page. "Financial records. You drained her account. $23,000 of her teacher salary." Marcus tried to interrupt, but Terrence kept going. "Lease agreement. You forged her signature, removed her from the house, illegally." He swiped again. "Social media posts. Your mistress here claiming my sister was abusive, unstable, a cheater, all lies." Shantae's voice was small. "I didn't, she told me." Terrence looked at her with something close to pity. You didn't verify. You just destroyed her reputation for clicks and views. He swiped the tablet again. And here we got text messages between you and your mother, planning this humiliation for weeks. He read aloud, "Let's sell everything and make her watch. She needs to know she's nothing." Beverly's face went white. "How did you—" Terrence's smile was cold. "I'm a general. You think I don't have resources?" Marcus tried to grab the tablet, desperation making him stupid. "You can't just—" Two soldiers stepped forward instantly. Marcus froze, hands up. Terrence's voice dropped to a whisper. "Touch me and you'll regret it." Marcus backed away, nearly tripping. He tried one more time, voice cracking. "Look, I loved her once, okay? But she changed. She got boring. I deserved better." The words hung in the air and the crowd gasped at his audacity. Terrence stepped so close Marcus had to look up to meet his eyes. "You deserved better?" Marcus nodded weakly. "Yeah, I work hard. I provide. I needed someone who appreciated me." Terrence's next words hit like bullets. "My sister worked 2 jobs to put you through business school." Marcus's mouth fell open. "She paid your mother's medical bills when she had surgery." Beverly looked away, shame finally touching her face. "She stayed quiet when you cheated the first time, the second time, the third time." Shantae's eyes went wide. "Wait, what?" Terrence looked at her, almost gentle. "Oh, you thought you were special." He shook his head. "You're number 7, sweetheart, and when he's done with you, there'll be number 8. Shantae stared at Marcus, betrayal written all over her face. Marcus tried to deny it. "That's not— you don't know—" Terrence cut him off one final time. "I know everything." He turned and walked toward Nadine. The crowd parted like the Red Sea. Nobody dared stand in his way. When he reached her, his entire demeanor changed. His face softened. His voice became gentle. "Dina." Her voice cracked when she spoke. "I'm sorry. I didn't want to bother you. I thought I could handle it." He cupped her face in his hands. "You never bother me. You're my sister. My only sister." She broke down then, finally letting herself cry, and he pulled her into his arms. "I got you. I'm here now, and nobody—" He looked over his shoulder at Marcus. "Nobody hurts you again." Marcus was panicking now, words tumbling out desperately. "We can work this out. I'll give back the money. I'll fix everything. Just—" Terrence didn't even turn around. "You're done talking." He signaled to a soldier who handed him a stack of papers. Terrence walked them over to Marcus. "Restraining order. Come within 500 feet of her. You're arrested." He handed him another. "Lawsuit for financial abuse, fraud, and emotional distress." Another one. "Criminal report for forging legal documents." Marcus's hand shook holding all those papers. Terrence wasn't done. "Your business? My lawyers are looking into your tax filings. Should be interesting." Marcus's voice was barely a whisper. "You can't do this?" Terrence leaned in close. "I'm a general. Try me." He turned to Beverly. "Your son stole from a military family. That's federal." Beverly was crying now. "Please, we'll fix it. We'll make it right." Terrence's voice was final. "You mocked her faith, sold her grandmother's Bible. There's no fixing that." He looked at Shantae one more time. "And you, that car you're waiting for?" She nodded weakly. "It's purchased with stolen funds. That's called fraud. Enjoy explaining that to the dealership on Monday." Shantae dropped her phone like it burned her. Terrence turned to face the whole crowd, his voice carrying across the silent street. "Let this be a lesson. When you destroy someone, make sure they don't have a protector." He looked at Marcus one last time. "You picked the wrong woman to underestimate." He signaled to his soldiers. "We're done here." They moved in unison, returning to their vehicles. Terrence guided Nadine to the middle SUV, helped her inside. Before he got in himself, he looked back one more time at the scene behind him. Marcus was on his knees, papers scattered around him. Beverly was sobbing into her hands. Shantae was screaming at Marcus, calling him a liar, a user, everything he deserved to be called. Neighbors were recording, gossiping, the whole street buzzing with shock. The older neighbor just shook his head. "I tried to tell you, son." Terrence got in the SUV next to his sister. The convoy drove away in perfect formation, leaving behind silence and ruins. The fallout was immediate and devastating. Monday morning, the Mercedes dealership called Marcus. "We can't complete your order. The funds have been frozen pending legal investigation." They'd already sold the car to someone else. His business partners called an emergency meeting. They'd seen the videos. Everyone had seen the videos. "We can't be associated with this. You're out." Marcus lost his company, the one thing he'd built his entire identity on. Then his lawyer called about the tax audit. They found irregularities, big ones. IRS agents showed up at his door within days. His accounts were frozen. His credit cards declined. The house went into foreclosure within 2 months. Shantae's world collapsed too. Her followers turned on her instantly. Comments flooded in calling her a homewrecker, a liar, a fool. Her brand deals dropped her one by one. She tried to apologize in a tearful video, but people weren't hearing it. One comment summed it up. "You participated in selling a woman's grandmother's Bible. There's no coming back from that." She exposed Marcus in a final video, revealing all his lies, then deleted everything and moved back to Florida. Some say she's working retail now under a different name, trying to forget who she used to be. Beverly lost everything that mattered to her. Her church asked her not to return. Her friends stopped calling. Family members distanced themselves. She tried to apologize to Nadine, wrote letters that came back unopened. And when Marcus lost everything and had to move in with her, she realized the truth. Too late. She'd created the monster that destroyed his life and hers. Now she sat in that house every day, watching her son fall apart, carrying the weight of her choices. The videos went viral. Millions of views, thousands of comments, all supporting Nadine and Terrence. News outlets picked up the story. "Military general defends sister from abusive husband," read the headlines. Social media launched campaigns. People tracked down Mama Ruth's Bible and the silver bracelet, returned them to Terrence's office. Strangers sent gifts, letters, donations. The world saw what Marcus and Beverly had done, and they made sure everyone knew justice had been served. 3 months later, Marcus was working minimum wage, living with his mother in a one-bedroom apartment, still bitter, still blaming everyone but himself. He saw Nadine from afar one day at a cafe. She was laughing with friends, glowing, healthy, free. Terrence was there too, protective as always. Marcus almost approached her. Almost, but he knew better. He'd lost the best thing he ever had, and there was no getting it back. He turned and walked away, carrying the weight of his choices alone. 6 months after that terrible Saturday, Nadine was living in a beautiful apartment in a new city. Fresh start, new school, students who loved her. Her walls were decorated with photos of Terrence, Mama Ruth, her parents. The silver bracelet was back on her wrist, polished and shining. Mama Ruth's Bible sat on her nightstand, worn from use. She was in therapy, healing, making new friends, reconnecting with old ones Marcus had isolated her from. She was teaching again with passion, and her students ran up to hug her in the hallways. Terrence visited regularly when he wasn't deployed. They had Sunday dinners together like they did as kids. He was proud of her, told her so every chance he got. "You survived, Dina. You stood back up. That takes strength." She smiled at him. "I had a good teacher." They laughed together, easy and warm. He gave her a new bracelet one day, similar to the first. just in case you need a reminder." She hugged him tight. "I won't forget this time." One day, Nadine visited Mama Ruth's grave, placed flowers on the headstone, sat in the grass. "I finally understand what you meant, Mama, about knowing when to roar." She touched the bracelet on her wrist. "I was silent for so long. But when it mattered, when I needed him, I called for help. And he came, just like you said he would." She stood up, feeling lighter than she had in years. "I'm okay now, I promise." Back in her classroom, decorating for the new school year, a parent approached her. "Ms. Walker, my daughter loves your class." Nadine smiled warmly. "She's a bright girl. You should be proud." The parent's voice dropped. "We heard about what you went through. I just want to say, you're incredible." Nadine, humble as ever, shook her head. "I'm just doing what I love." After the parent left, she looked around her classroom, colorful, warm, safe, and thought about how far she'd come. From that driveway where she lost everything to this moment, where she had everything that mattered. See, the world will try to tell you that silence is weakness, that being kind means being soft, that letting people hurt you means you deserve it. But Nadine learned something her grandmother tried to teach her all along. There's strength in silence until it's time to speak. There's power in patience until it's time to act. And there's wisdom in knowing you don't have to fight every battle alone. Because the people who love you, the ones who really see you, they'll move heaven and earth when you finally ask for help. Marcus thought he broke her. Beverly thought she won. Shantae thought she replaced her. But you can't break what you don't understand. And they never understood that Nadine wasn't weak. She was protected, always has been, always will be. And that's the story, y'all. Nadine lost everything, her home, her belongings, her dignity, because the people who were supposed to love her chose cruelty instead. But she had something they didn't count on, a protector who never forgot her, a brother who dropped everything and showed up when she needed him most. I'll see you in the next one. Stay strong, stay blessed,